So today I'm going to talk about sex and money. Now, just to warn you, this is going to contain some rather personal stuff, so I don't want anyone taking offence. A friend of mine worked for the BBC and handled complaints, and when Dave Allen had his series, there was a particular person who phoned in every week to say how disgusting and sacrilegious it was. And every week. Now, my friend, he longed to say, "Why did you watch? There's an on-off button and several other channels." So please don't comment on its nature if you decided to watch it all. Yeah, just phone my friend at the BBC instead. Now, my last video explained that after 6 years, I now have a recurrence. It's funny that my first thought wasn't, is it bad? How long have I got to live? But are they still going to give me my implant? Now, I'd planned on becoming Robocock. So let's go back a few steps. My journey has been fairly easy due to my personal circumstances. Decisions and lucky events have made my anxiety levels less than most. If I look at the money side of things first, I am so grateful to be under the UK's NHS and not an American health system. On the Facebook pages, I read of decisions of treatment revolving around how much insurance cover a person has. Now, due to the NHS, any worries on that count have been nullified. Even the fact that I didn't have to worry about meeting my home bills as I had an income flow. Plus, when I couldn't work, I got support through employment and support allowance. And for those of you in the UK, this was automatic if you were undergoing radiotherapy or chemotherapy. And I'll find out soon if this is still the case. Now, I have had a concern recently though. In preparation for whatever comes next, I researched if I might be eligible for ESA again. Now, you could be in a couple of different groups. One is income related, and to qualify for the other, you must be up to date with the last 3 years' national insurance payments. Now, I never play around with a taxman. I get my return in and they send me the bill, which I pay on time. And in the last years, the national insurance is paid through the tax bill and not through a weekly contribution. So I was surprised when I looked into my account to find that there was a year that was showing insufficient funds. I made a phone call and explained my situation, and the answer I received was there had been a mistake by the Inland Revenue on my bill. This made my contribution short. Now, my confusion continued as I asked why this hadn't been passed on to me. Administrative error was the reply. The shortfall was £33, which I immediately paid. I was told this would register on my account within 8 weeks. Whew, what a relief. But given the initial error, I checked after 10 weeks. Still insufficient for that year. So another phone call and the guy at the Inland Revenue checked it. I see what's happened. It's been attributed to a different year. Okay, so it must be simple then. Just transfer it to the correct year. The answer was that this would be done, but could take up to 11 weeks. Now, I've learned that results are better if you remain calm, rising to a sternness, but never shouting and screaming. So I asked about how to go about speeding up the process, and if they could be so kind as to try. 4 days later, the mistake was rectified. Now, the reason I put this in is because if someone relies heavily on that support and it's delayed, it will add far more stress to an already hideous situation. So if you're self-employed, check your national insurance contributions are up to date. The first time round, my payments were delayed by about 8 weeks. And like I say, I was fortunate to be able to cover that. But I always think that for many, that won't be the case. Macmillan Cancer are great for talking to about financial worries. Give them a call. So, on to the part about sex. Yes, I'm only 56, so I'm not ready to give it up and just stir my tea with it. The situation to date has been trying several methods, and this has ranged from using them on their own to combining 2 or more together, a literal cocktail. The trouble is, it can never be spontaneous. Preparation of any of them is never instant, but takes about 15 minutes or so. Now, my suitcase for holidays has increased in volume to accommodate the growing paraphernalia. The last medication I tried was via injection. Now, the trip to the hospital was traumatically hilarious. I thought I was going in to just discuss it and to get a prescription. However, the specialist decided I should be given a shot to see its effect. Now, I'd gone by motorbike and I was in leathers, not the easiest clothing for the job. And to make matters worse, a young female nurse was present. She wasn't even from that department, but was on a 4-week placement to observe. So, as she leans over the specialist's shoulder, he shows her how to prepare and administer the injection. And then I'm asked to go into the waiting room and have happy thoughts for the next 15 minutes. Difficult in my leathers. When I go back in, he inquires how I feel. I was relieved, and I explained, yeah, okay, didn't think it was much to write home about. And then to my horror, he says, maybe we should take a look. So with a pretty nurse peering over his shoulder again, I awkwardly start to get my leathers down to my knees. The specialist then prods it and suggests, yeah, maybe a stronger dose, which he prescribes. As I leave, the pretty nurse says, goodbye, and I reply, yeah, nice to meet you, sorry you haven't seen me at my best. Since then, I've read many men who've had an implant have said what a game changer it is. Most saying they wish they had it done straight away and not tried all the pumps, pills, potions before. So I went to see the pump professor. Now, this was requested back in September last year and due to administrative errors was not seen until February. So in mid-March, I get an appointment to discuss the options. It's an uneasy meeting as it's now the initial stages of the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, one major concern is that since the initial request, I've now been told that Carmel has been recognised as being a recurrence. I tell this straight away to the professor, but he says the two won't have an effect on the other, so they can go ahead. I'm shown the device and told how the operation takes place, how they put in a small pump and then 2 balloons either side. Now, the device is a very white plastic, so jokingly I ask if it will show through the skin, because if they don't have it in another colour, I'm just going to look like a randy badger. Not a register on Prof's face, who just says it won't show through. I'm in the limbo phase again now. I've had my bloods taken today, and depending on the result, it will either be a scan to find out where Carmel set up home, or it's another 3 months and a further blood test. In the meantime, I'd dearly love to have Robocock implemented. If I am to go out, I want to go out with a bang. I also suggested that if I do have the implant, at my funeral they could have the last post played and I get gently deflated like a very small flagpole. Anyway, I'm far away from that scenario. I just like thinking silly thoughts. But tomorrow I get my latest results, so we'll find some amusement from that. Anyway, I'll let you know.